Only now I've realized that my very first topic in this saga about writing my own story was about antagonists, and, well, they are side characters. Even though most what I've had to say about antagonists was aimed at some main antagonist, some major threat to the protagonist, but still these two topics will most probably overlap more than I've realized before. Now, for what I want to talk about today, I've mentioned mentors and the whole archetype of these all knowing characters because they obviously can be just bystanders, straight up enemies, or somewhat helpful to the protagonist. And I just had a short comment on them considering the side characters topic because I did say that I am not really inclined to having them in my stories. So these all knowing, above everything side characters are not exactly welcome in what I want to write. But one thing that I'm definitely not going to include is their point of view so that I, the reader, have no idea about, well, everything since they know it all, as I want to walk alongside the protagonist as he is creating the story rather than get some spoilers, pieces of puzzle that only I will know and the protagonist will remain clueless to them. So if I do feel that they somehow have a spot in the story, a place that I can fit them in without making things uncomfortable for me, there is a chance that it might happen, but it will definitely be in a restricted form that won't be intrusive or disruptive and won't rob the protagonist of the agency, of the initiative to build his own adventure. So that's about what I wanted to include in the intro for this video. It didn't make much sense, but it helped me somewhat organize how I feel about these types of characters within my writing, cement my stance on different points of view. I'm definitely not going to include any of that in my stories unless something changes. And now more efforts of the Rapid Arrows to rescue a poor captive of the dastardly islanders. The first try was unsuccessful. Rushing into things had proven to be less than ideal. So, with their tails between their legs, they had to retreat and rethink their strategy. They will do a night raid, wait for the darkness to hide them, sneak into the base, and hopefully release the prisoner before the captors have any time to realize what's going on. The young boy reveals that they have this secret set of signals between himself and the other boy, and he is going to use this whistle to signal the other boy that they are coming for rescue and that he needs to be ready when the night falls. Before that happens, they are reinforcing the raft since it's going to need a bit more capacity with the need to carry one more passenger with them, or as Speedy seems to be summoning bad luck, a few less. Right before sunset, they set on their journey. Everyone's fully determined to save the poor boy, just Speedy hoping that their submarine won't get capsized again. They are going to land on a different spot and use the shadows to quietly approach the camp of the islanders, hopefully unnoticed. They notice the glow of a campfire above the trees that helps them pinpoint the location. And when they approach, the young boy notices his friends sitting by the fire, surrounded by the islanders. Mirek comes up with a plan to use stones as a distraction to hopefully entice the older boys away from the captive, which it does. Everyone runs away to investigate the noise while the young boy stays, and the rabbit arrows use that chance to quickly come get him. The extraction complete, reunion between the two friends has to be swift because time is tight, rushing towards their vessels to escape the island. Speed is sweating from fear like never before. They reach the raft and the washtub. Everyone boards their respective ships. The raft leans dangerously into the water because of an incorrect placement of its passengers, but that gets solved fast, and they are desperately trying to get as far away as they can before the islanders realize the raid happened. And they do. They set sail on their own ships, and a grand maritime battle is approaching. Mirek just quickly asks the two young boys if they can swim, which they can. They got their swimmer's badge just recently. Then the two vessels finally reach each other, and the islander speaks, asking them if they ever took a bath fully clothed. Mirek admits that not as of yet, but if it's about to happen, they won't be the only ones getting clean. A promise they proceed to fulfill right away by jumping from the raft at the enemy vessel, capsizing it, and sending its entire crew into deep waters. Mirek just tells the two young boys to quickly swim towards their own shore. One particularly mean islander notices that Redcap and Speedy in their washed up submarine are yet to get wet, so he quickly fixes it. To Speedy's great indignation, he asks, all ruffled, if they were somehow getting in the way of that islander boy. They were just minding their own business in their washtub, and he just had to ruin their business. Then suddenly one of the islanders' leg cramps. He starts drowning, which Mirek and Yarka immediately notice and help him get to at least temporary safety in the capsized vessel the islanders used to pursue them. He is thankful, almost sure that he wouldn't have been able to make it by himself all the way to the ship, and this event ends the war since the islanders are so grateful that the Rapideros saved one of their friends that they offer peace. A truce is accepted, and it's time to quickly change into dry clothes and get something warm into themselves, like tea or soup, to make sure no one ends sick after this adventure. The only one suffering is Speedy because he had to leave the additional luggage with his other clothes at home because he just can't pack properly. And that's the end of the Islands and Rivers saga. In the next one, the club is discussing their dreams. Yindra is narrating his that they, presumably the club members, were flying in a balloon when it turned into an elephant with wings. Speedy is all baffled by these weird dreams, proclaiming that he's never dreamed in his life. Then it's time to end today's activities. Indra asks who's Bubbles sleeping with today. It's Speedy. Then at Speedy's place, they get ready to sleep. Bubbles already in the land of dreams with fat sausages depicted on top of his head. Speedy just reminiscing one last time about Indra's winged elephant. And then it's time for him to lay down as well. For someone who never dreamt before, there are some pretty vivid fantasies happening above his head. He's at school, puts up his hand, and proclaims that the professor's teachings are a bit tiring and that he's going to take his crankle flyer for a spin. The teacher is all, of course, we are going to see you off. Everyone is out there, the entire school, even the principal himself. He has a speech calling Speedy a great student, giving him a week-long vacation, and it all ends with the entire student body singing Speedy a song to say goodbye. The Crankle Flyer is basically an old school airplane with a crank powered propeller that allows the flight part. Speedy takes off, says his goodbyes, and asks his classmate Quintera to clean the blackboard since it was supposed to be Speedy's turn before his vacation. He flies all the way into the space and sees the Milky Way. Well, in his dream, that is actually a track, path, railway full of small clouds, and on each one of them is a milk jug. He exclaims that if he somehow accidentally crashed into the Milky Way, it would be enough cottage for the entire planet for at least 5 decades. Further into the flight, he sees the principal, asks him what he is doing there, and the principal replies that the students were too rowdy, stomping when going up and down the stairs, so he quit being the principal and became a switchman on the Milky Railway instead. And meanwhile, in the real world, Speedy's parents wake up and they hear someone grind rye in the kitchen. His father assumes that it must be a thief and laments that the boy won't even wake up. When they enter the room, they see Speedy with a grinder in his lap, spinning the crankle, sleepwalking and sleep talking about a comet that's right on his tail in his dream that he needs to avoid. He says goodbye to the principal and asks if he knows if Chinchera cleaned the blackboard for him. And this is where I'm going to stop. Next time, more side characters and more adventures.